And welcome to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Effrey. He is Mark Messina. Do you want to tell him what you did? I even gave you the warning before the warning.
Well, you gave me a warning like 10 minutes ago.
10, it was like 2.
No, it was a lot.
I'm not giving you 3 warnings.
I was just sitting here reading, and all of a sudden he started
I'm not giving
drumming.
you 3
It's
warnings.
like,
Really interesting story out of Venice about entry fees, or essentially like paid city destinations, could really change tourism on its head a little bit, depending on where you are. Time versus divorce. You're going to find this fascinating. They did a study to actually see if divorce has a timeline, almost like when is it most likely to happen.
No, I've read stuff about this. This is a very interesting
really
topic.
Interesting. And then there was a Tom Hanks story about Tim Allen. I don't know how much you know about Tim Allen. Did you watch Home Improvement? Were you a Home Improvement guy? Tim Allen to me is a fascinating person, so we'll dive into that a little bit. But then he was supposed to be the voice of Buzz, then he wasn't the voice of Buzz Lightyear in the new movie. So there's a whole conversation.
He's not the voice of Buzz.
Not in the new one. No, that's why I brought it up to you. Yeah. So there's a
How can they make Buzz if it's not Tim Allen?
So see, I think there's a whole. Tim Allen is very much on the right, and I think there's a whole thing in Hollywood about kind of like hiring Tim Allen. What can he do? That whole thing.
Huh.
Yeah. Really,
Did not
really
know that. Did not know you could have Buzz without Tim.
Apparently you can. So Tom Hanks brought this up, and he
the movie's doing. Wait, is the movie out yet?
The new Buzz Lightyear movie is out.
Is it doing well?
Lightyear. It's doing well financially. It is not doing well critically.
Minions is doing well, isn't
Minions
it? Or whatever.
That's a whole. That's
what's it called?
Crazy. Minions. I think it's the Rise of Gru.
Yes, something of Gru. Yes.
Yes. Do you like the Minions? Like, or is that your thing?
Which one? What were they part of at first?
Here's the cool. Despicable Me.
Yes, I've seen them in Despicable Me. I've not gone anywhere beyond.
The neat part about the Minions thing is all the craze when Despicable Me first came out. So probably what, 6, 7, 8 years ago?
More than that, I think.
You think so? So here's the neat part about that is you went from having these kids that were like 10, 11, obsessed with the Minions, right? Like they were really cool and they'd hop around and make noises.
College.
Well, now those same kids are in college. So they're like, I don't know if you've seen the TikTok stuff, and they're crowding the movie theaters. They're selling them out. Like they're getting dressed up all in the same stuff and going to the theaters. It's really crazy.
Who knew?
Yeah,
who knew?
It's really, really neat to see, though. Before we get to some of this stuff, Mark, how are you feeling today?
As the AC kicks on, right? When we're, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't really have a reason not to be good.
Sure.
So I think I'm good.
You didn't have anything, did you? We can move on. We're gonna have a quick show today. We're moving with it.
Yeah, we got an interesting. We're live streaming. Some Pennsylvania Department of something is doing a thing about the spotted lanternfly and what they're doing to control it and how they're whatever. And we're broadcasting it live at 1, so we're gonna be off at 1, so we can play that.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting.
Yeah, I thought I had something more profound to say, and I didn't.
No, you didn't. Let's talk. I'll let you pick. Which one do you want to talk about first? Venice, divorce, or Tim Allen?
Well, I think the Venice one is simple, but it's they are basically paying. If you don't live there, if you're a tourist and you're coming in, you have to pay an entrance fee. Yes. I don't know how they're doing that. Like, are they gating the whole city? I don't know what they're going to do, but they say it's because of overcrowding. It's not necessarily a money grab. It's more to dissuade people.
Yeah, it feels like a money. Like, I agree with you. They do use the word overcrowding. It says Venice has become the world's first city to announce an entry fee for tourists as it is tackling the problem of overcrowding. They even put overcrowding. In this one, they put it in the bunny ears. The city will charge an entry fee starting January 16th, 2023. It is the first city of its kind that will require an entrance fee. So no actual designated city required. Of course, there's like turnpike fees, right? You might have train fees depending on what country you're trying to go to. There are places that, depending on how you're trying to get to them, essentially there is a fee, but not one specifically for the city.
Just think even at Williamsport.
Mm-hmm.
Say Williamsport wanted to do this.
Okay.
How many different entrances are there to Williamsport?
What's weird about Williamsport is any city river based would have a significantly easier time than a non-river based city.
Because you're saying one side is blocked off.
Waynesport 5 bridges.
Well,
there's 15. There's Market Street, 2 down.
Yeah.
So you could, 5 tolls at 5 bridges, one direction. You pretty much have covered in a way. I'm not saying people couldn't like really go out of their way and come up and around. So I don't know. It's not insane. And here's the crazy part too. Even from up north, if you tolled 15, obviously there's the back roads and stuff like that, but
you would have to toll 15,
yes.
like right above Hepburn or something.
Yep.
And we're assuming if you're going further than this, but then you'd have to do the Crick Road. You'd have to do all like those branches. It's tough. It is tough.
Well, it depends what you would do. The interesting thing is, like you brought up, like Cumming Creek Road, like Old 15. Like you would still need byways and bypasses for citizens.
Correct.
You're only trying to stop the tourists.
I guess what they would do is like the tourist destinations of the area are, like in Baltimore, it would be like the Inner Harbor.
Yeah.
And if you're going to North Baltimore, more of the old city part, then it doesn't matter. But there would be ways that you get down far enough that if you park here, you have to pay a toll, or if you take public transit, because that would be one of the things. You either have to park or walk, or you have to take public transportation. So somewhere it's probably kind of in the parking decks.
Possibly. It's a neat thought exercise. I would say this. I hate it. I'm very I hate turnpikes. I hate road fees. Oh. I'm against anything that stops people from going somewhere.
Have you ever gotten off? I've gotten ticketed or whatever for going off. There's a couple exits on the turnpike that are easy pass only.
Yeah.
And if you go off an easy pass and don't have one,
you get whacked.
And then I got and I think I ended up just paying the whole fine because I was trying to do it online to figure out how to avoid, because you had to send this back in, and it was so complicated.
Sure.
And I'm sure they do it on purpose to make it so complicated that people would just say screw it, and they.
Yeah. I just think, like, for me, I'm paying local, I'm paying state, I'm paying federal.
I'm with you.
The idea that I would have a fee to use
that's a money grab.
Somewhere, that's a money grab. And I think the city thing is a money grab. The ticket price will be dynamic. It will depend upon the number of visitors. The more requests for entry, the higher the cost. The ticket booking system will be unveiled soon. There are several exceptions to the ticket mandate. Disabled people, homeowners, people who visit the city for medical reasons, visiting relatives, or to attend cultural events. Children under the age of 6 will be exempt from buying entry tickets. So they're like going for it. Like this is happening.
The logistics of putting it together is going to be so complex that
NFTs, it might not be.
No, but just with how do you make sure that?
I think that like you kind of hinted at this. Venice is unique just because of the way the city is and the water and just like maybe this is a Venice only. Like
there's only a couple ways in, a couple ways out.
Yeah, like it was fun. Like it was fun doing the thought exercise of Williamsport. But for most places, you're right. Like this is not a feasible thing. Like this is not something you're going to be able to do.
Right.
Venice, though, like I could see it happening. I could see how it's easier to do it for Venice than somewhere else.
Yeah. You take most places. You take like Muncie.
Yeah.
You're either coming this way, this way, this way, or this way, and there's only about 4 main ways in, and it would be easy. Williamsport, there's a dozen.
Yeah.
You get bigger cities.
Venice,
but I guess New York City with the tunnel and with the, just imagine New York City.
Yeah. I think the thing that's interesting about Venice, like you said, I'm not saying it's not for overcrowding. Like I'm not implying that that's not like a part of this.
It's a little opportunistic. No doubt about it.
Listen, I would argue Venice is going to be one of the more expensive. Like if I were in charge of Venice, the expenses of keeping this place above water for the next 10, 20, 30 years is going to be astronomical. The amount of money they're going to have to dump into this place to keep everything going is nuts.
For the system or for the city itself?
both. I mean, just to keep Venice pumping, like to just keep it going, because it's just falling underwater.
Oh.
So just structurally, checking up, keeping things straight. It's literally going to cost more than maybe any other city. I shouldn't say that. There are other cities that are going to be underwater, but it's going to be expensive to be Venice for the next 10, 20, 30
I get what you're saying.
So that's what it feels like to me. Venice is technically an island, so you have to cross a bridge to get into the city. So you go.
So it's Staten Island. There you go.
I think New York City could pull it off if they.
New York City could pull it off.
If they really.
New York City's
really
big island.
Yeah.
In mostly. So
I wonder how that would work with flying. I guess this would be Heather might know this. I'm assuming you can't fly into Venice, because that creates a whole other challenge.
Oh, I'm sure you could
fly into Venice. You don't think you have to fly in and then
then
drive over?
There'd be a tax.
Just like NYC, you pay to get into it regardless of the rate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, let's do. I'll leave it to you. Tom Hanks divorce. What do you want to do?
So Tom Hanks is Buzz?
No. So Tom Hanks made a statement that said they didn't let Tim Allen do it. I don't understand that regarding Buzz Lightyear. Now, this is the same Tom. Tom Hanks has been bizarrely he has had the weirdest news break recently. You saw the thing about his wife getting shoved over by the photographers. So there was that. He also made the statement that somebody not gay should not be allowed to play a gay character. So a non-gay actor shouldn't be allowed to play a gay character. I think it was a reference to Philadelphia. Somehow in conversation, the movie Philadelphia came up, and he made the comment that essentially a non-gay actor, shouldn't have done the movie today. And people are kind of not really sure how to feel about that. And now he has this statement about Tim Allen not being able to do Buzz Lightyear. And here's the ironic thing about that. Tom Hanks is very clearly a Democrat. Nothing wrong with that. Tim Allen is very clearly a Republican. Nothing wrong with that. Tom Hanks to act as if he doesn't know why Tim Allen wasn't allowed to do Buzz Lightyear is nuts. It's through the tea leaves, it's very obvious he wasn't allowed to do it because the people that made this movie did not want a right-leaning person to do the Buzz Lightyear cartoon. There's all these rumblings about how they didn't want him.
But isn't that good that Tom Hanks came out in support?
I think it's good, but he's acting as if he doesn't know
that
why
he's just oblivious.
It sounds as if Tom Hanks is implying I don't know why he's not Buzz Lightyear. It makes no sense to me. And it's kind of but you do, Tom. You do know why he's not Buzz Lightyear. So.
No, I get it.
So Tom Hanks has had a month. It's been a really weird month for Tom Hanks.
And forever wasn't he? And maybe I shouldn't even say this out loud in case I'm wrong. Was he in any Epstein conversations?
Yes. None that I've heard of, and I've read a lot.
What was the thing? There was something about. Was it Greece? Did he get his Greek citizenship?
It's possible.
I don't know.
It's possible.
There was for years and years and years. He was only lovable.
Yeah.
There was nobody that ever said anything bad about Tom Hanks.
Sure.
And then, as you said, he's come into a little. So only a gay character. Only a gay person should be allowed to play a gay character.
He made that comment probably a month or so ago, and it wasn't like a.
Was it to promote gay actors?
No. I think it came up. There was a conversation about Philadelphia. It came up about at the time, was it difficult making the choice to make the movie? And his whole thing was kind of I don't even know if I should have made the movie in hindsight or if we should have made the movie as non-gay actors. That was kind of, and so he says, I don't know if any non-gay actor should play a gay character now.
Well, so that's like saying, what's his name couldn't have played Barney Stinson on How I Met Your Mother because he's gay playing a straight man.
Sure. There's a lot of
the
references.
Dude in Jared Leto in Dallas Buyers was brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Well, even then, you could even take it over into race about I think Hamilton's brilliant, and the idea that someone shouldn't be able to play a character because it doesn't align.
Because George Washington was played by a black dude.
The whole.
Isn't that part of the brilliance?
What's that?
I think it's part of the brilliance.
Right, because you're just listening to the story. And it's not about necessarily what the people look like. It's about like the actual performance and what they're saying. But so the whole, I think maybe, I don't know, I'm not Tom Hanks. Was he trying to like stand up for gay people without even realizing like what he was actually saying?
Right.
I don't know. But in hindsight, I mean, it's a very bizarre statement.
It is a very bizarre statement because you're acting. That's what you're doing.
Yes.
Actors play parts. That's like saying, well, no, this is probably a bad example. Unless you've murdered someone, you shouldn't play the part of a murderer.
Yes.
We should find a real murderer, and they should get the job.
It was a weird statement.
Because there have been lots. Wasn't The Rock's first role?
No idea. What was The Rock's first role?
I thought he played a cross-dresser. Is that even the term anymore?
Okay.
Whatever the term is. I don't know. But yeah, it works the other way. There are gay people who play straight characters and play them very well. And Barney Stinson is one of the classics. Did you watch How I Met Your Mother?
Yep.
And the world knew Neil Patrick Harris was gay.
Sure.
He was out. And he was a man whore on How I Met Your Mother. And you just bought it.
Absolutely.
Like there was no part where you watched it and you're like, well, I don't buy it because I know he's gay. Like you bought it every week.
Right. He said in the interview, so this is Hanks. He said, actually, I wanted to go head to head with Tim Allen because I believe the Elvis movie came out almost the same way as the Lightyear movie, which Hanks is in. He said, and they didn't let Tim Allen do it. I don't understand that. When the interviewer implied that Evans is a big name at the moment, Hanks responded, yeah, I know. The actor then added diplomatically, but here's the thing. Just as long as people come back to the motion picture theater, I want to go back into the theater with a bunch of strangers and leave with something in common. That's what I want to do. So again, like, it was just the implication of like, yeah, I don't know why they did that. But it's like, yes, you do. Like, you know why this happened.
Who is Buzz Lightyear now?
Chris Evans.
Who is Chris Evans?
He was Captain America.
Okay.
So he's doing the voice for Pixar.
Is there a more overrated comic book hero than Captain America?
He
throws a shield.
I know, but you don't like Captain America?
Throws a shield.
I know, but he's juice. He's like jacked up.
What?
You and I can throw a shield. It's not going to be as cool as Captain America.
He throws a shield.
I understand, but have you seen him throw a shield?
Like Superman can fly, Aquaman talks to the dolphins, Spider-Man slings webs, and this guy throws something.
You're not impressed by it?
No.
But it's how he throws it.
Oh, is it now?
Do you like Thor's hammer?
No.
Okay, because I was going to say, if you like Thor's hammer, but you don't like the shield, then that doesn't make any sense.
Thor's hammer's pretty. I saw one of the Thor movies. I think it's the first one.
Yeah.
And I thought it sucked.
See, I can't. You're just off on.
I don't think. Like, how do you watch Iron Man and you're like, wow, and then you watch Thor? He's got a big hammer. Oh, Captain America throws a shield. Like, what in the world?
He's a god.
Then shouldn't he be able to do more than just hit with a hammer?
He can. Have you seen what the hammer does?
It hits hard.
More than that. So we'll leave it at that. I found that one interesting. This is the main event for you right here. A study was done. What the average marriage length in the U.S. says about your divorce risk. So newlyweds and old married couples have one thing in common. They can never get too comfortable. You've heard of the 7-year itch, but is that phenomena actually true? How long does the average marriage last? Is there a hardest year of marriage?
And that's where it started. Like the 7-year itch they made a movie about it. Like that is the cliche.
Yeah.
And they were like, is that really, or did someone just make it sound clever? And
so before I go through these numbers, I was going to open up the floor to you. Do you have an inkling of what this is going to say?
I read it.
Oh, you did.
You sent it to me.
I know, because I wanted to let you know, like, this is something we might talk about. Just listen, here's the thing. Just because I send it to you doesn't mean I'm assuming you read it.
I do my homework.
Oh, stop it. So
this is the first part doesn't surprise me. And I think I've told you this. I read this before because I was married. I've gone through divorce. And you, like, in the education yourself, that there are cycles. Sure. And there are tougher times. There are easier times. There are, and obviously these are all generic because some people, you know, they get married, their first 3 years are 21 through 24, and some people are 35 through 38.
Yeah, mine's going to end up being like 40 something.
Yeah. So financial worlds are different. just like life maturity, things you've seen are different. So it's certainly not a perfect study, but it is interesting.
Year 1 and 2, high risk. Studies suggest that most marriages that fail, roughly 10%, will do so within the first 2 years. This is based on data from over 11,000 divorce cases. Research has concluded that men are more likely to cheat on their wives during this stage of marriage.
You want my philosophy on this?
Your opinion, yeah. I mean, that's why we're here to just talk at each other.
This is what I think. That I think the of the educated society that we live in, the worst, one of our great failings of a society is we are least educated about what marriage really is. Okay. We saw what our parents had. Okay. We saw a little bit of what our friends' parents had. Okay. But we have been told this is how.
You're talking about year 1 and 2.
What marriage in general. So when you get into it,
okay,
like there's this general belief that you grow up, you're supposed to, go to school and work hard and do the right things, and you meet someone, you fall in love, you get married, and the heavens sing and the angels dance and all this stuff, and everything's wonderful, and you have no realization how hard it is. People don't talk about the psychology of it, what to expect, like the whole book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like what to expect when you're getting married. Mm-hmm. And people get into it, and I think there's this is what it is. Now what? Mm-hmm. Because we don't, and it's hard, and it is a bucket of cold water for a lot of people. Also, depending on where you lived and how much you lived together and where you lived together. But now all of a sudden, you're both making decisions about money, about this, you have someone to, I don't want to say to answer to, but you have someone to hash these things out with, and their vote counts a lot. Mm-hmm. And also, people joke, they joke all the time about the differences between what you're dating and once you get married, and but there's a lot of truth to that people act differently, whether they get more complacent, whether they feel like they have more ownership now, and they're like, well, now you have to listen to me. And I just think too, people have this belief of this is what marriage is supposed to look like. And that's not talked about enough going in, because, you get people like, hey, now that we're married, you're not supposed to want to go out with your friends and watch Monday Night Football. You're not supposed to want to be in a golf league. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to want to be home with me. And then people are like, whoa, that's not what I signed up for. So yes, I understand why years 1 and 2 are the hardest.
Years 3 to 4, average risk. The data suggests that average couples begin having children around year 3. There's ample evidence that children increase relationship stability and decrease divorce risk. Here's the funny thing, because obviously I'm not a married person and I've never been divorced. The funny thing when I read that is I think it's all true for all the wrong reasons.
Well, I think I think obviously through years 3 and 4, it would be fascinating to see how many people in a first marriage, obviously if you're older and you're beyond childbearing years, but in a first marriage between year 3 and 4, I would say the majority have a kid. And it is, even if you're miserable and you've got to the point of the mistake, you can focus so much of your love and energy on the kid. And it would probably be really, really hard to leave during infancy.
So they refer to it as increased stability or decreased risk. And to me, that is an incredibly positive spin on it.
Yeah. I just think you can't go.
And now. By the way, I'm talking about the ones that were in trouble before the kid. Like, I'm not referring to couples that were already stable going into it.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's incredibly
positive. And to go further, and this is again why we say this all the time, we should have a relationship psychologist expert. How many people get into the 1-2 years, they know the marriage is not working, and they get pregnant because they think all we need to do is have a kid and then everything will solve itself.
You think both people think that, or do you think one person thinks that?
Well, I think
one person thinks that.
Yes, because
and I'm not implying it's the woman. Like, I'm just saying I think one person in a relationship thinks that a kid will solve.
But I think one person is really scared the relationship's not going to make it.
Correct.
If both people are really scared, then the relationship probably doesn't want to make it. Or if they're both really scared and trying to make it work, then they're going to make it work. It's one person is nervous that like the other person's not happy and the other person's going to leave. And the way I can defend that is we can have a kid.
Am I just a complete asshole? Or like the idea of being scared?
You don't even have to finish
the idea of being scared in a relationship. Like, I like, if I was ever scared in a relationship, I left. Like, if I was in a relationship,
but it's harder now because you didn't have the baggage.
Say that again?
You didn't have the baggage.
Like, of a kid?
Yes.
Yes, but I'm talking in general. Like, in general, people like, I was in this relationship and I was afraid they would leave me. Or I was, and so like, for me, like, if you are afraid in the relationship of them leaving, of them doing this, of them doing that, like, I have just always, and maybe I'm a runner, like, again, maybe I'm just like an egotistical asshole and I just run away from that. But if I ever felt fear in the relationship, like, I was gone.
But haven't you?
Because it's not fun. Like, it's not a fun, it's not a fun relationship.
But haven't you ever met anyone who have, I remember, and this is what's funny now, because this person's older than me. I'm 50. So she's probably 50, whatever. And I remember talking to her, and we were in our early to mid 20s. And she was telling me she was in a bad relationship. Wasn't like violent, bad, abusive, bad, just it wasn't good. And this wasn't. And she's telling me how much time she had invested.
Yeah.
And how she didn't want to start over. And I can remember sitting there thinking, you're 25. And I was only 20, whatever at the time. But I was like, what about the next, you've been with this person 2.5 years. What about the next 25 and a half years?
Right.
Like, let's have a little bit of a bigger picture of it. But, and now they broke up. Now she married some guy and they've been together ever since. So, but don't you think there's an aspect of people, I'm going to say this is more women than men, but in both, that they get into a relationship and it is priority number one to make this relationship work for whatever reasons. Either they feel like a failure or no one else will understand me, or they're afraid of being alone. Like, your approach is better because it's healthier, but it is the exception more than the rule.
Well, it's egotistically healthier. It's not healthier for relationships. Because again, like, if I have a fear, or if I'm afraid that the person might leave me, then I'm no longer comfortable, and I just don't, now it's ruined. Like, I don't enjoy this anymore. So for individually, it's healthier. For like maintaining a relationship, it's very like, it's chronic. Like, it's very bad. You don't see that? You don't see what I'm saying? Like,
I do see what you're saying. I don't see why it's bad.
It's healthier for the individual. For the relationship, it's not.
Well, yes. Whenever anyone leaves a relationship, it's not healthy for the relationship. But it's healthier for society. Like, you have a chance to go get in a good relationship, and so does the other person.
We only have like 2 minutes. Year 5 to 8, high risk. So this is the 7-year itch that they're referring to.
Because you've got through the baby bubble of like the blinded bliss of having a new baby. Okay. And now you're back to the point of like, oh, our relationship sucks.
Yeah, this is one of the riskiest periods for a marriage. Younger children tend to be old enough to have a good chance of surviving to adulthood, which may mean couples feel free to transition out of their marriage. Year 9 to 15, low risk. And this was actually the lowest risk they found. By year 9, most couples no longer have infants at home. There's some evidence that as children get older, parents report increased relationship satisfaction. So yeah, actually, there's more divorces after year 15 than there are between years 9 and 15. That one surprised me.
Well, this is why I would say too. The other one, from whatever to 8, is hard because when you have young children is kind of the least fun time of marriage. because it is an anchor. And going anywhere is, you've got to find car seats, you've got to find booster seats, you need your diaper bag, you need, like, it is, when kids are really, really young, it's hard.
Yeah.
So I can understand why that, and it just causes stress. It causes, like, the fun marriage activities just disappear. Then you get to, like, the middle part. Kids are starting to do stuff, and they're involved in t-ball and soccer, and so, and now you're back out, you're meeting other new people because your kid's on a t-ball team or on a soccer team. So it kind of becomes fun again.
Yeah.
And then once you get beyond that part, and the kids, what did it say, 15 to 20 is high risk again?
15 to 20.
It's higher.
It's higher than 9 to 15.
Because now the kids are kind of old enough that they don't need you at every moment of the time. So kids will go hours and hours, and now you've got to interact with your spouse again. And they're a very different person than 15 years ago.
But isn't 15 years also very transitional from, like, a personal standpoint? Like, after 5 years, you might still be mostly the same person. After 10, you're probably still the majority the same person. After 15 years, like, the difference between 21 and 36, the difference between 36 and 51, like, those are significantly different people. And to me, that's why 15 years, that's my opinion of why 15 years.
Well, yes, that's a factor too. And I know we got to get off here, but because as your kids get older and as you see more of life, your view on parenthood changes your life more than anything.
No, I get it.
And your views on life. So yes, there are lots of people who will tell you, and I've had these conversations with many adults, I am way different at 40 with a kid than I was at 25. The things I believed were important at 20 and 25. Right. And now it's just night and day.
And I don't think that happens after 5 years. It starts to happen maybe after 10. But once you get to, like, 15, 20 years, like, you're a different person. You are no longer the same person.
Agreed.
Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Coming up on North Central PA Facebook page, you can hear about the spotted lanternfly and what we are doing as a state to try to handle it and what you can do to help, I'm guessing. I'm assuming they're going to give you tips.
I would think so, too.
All different things like that. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. Thanks for watching the Midday Show.
We'll see.